At 6. Thank you for being here. (6:00). Council Bob Prosgard has volunteered to open this meeting with prayer.
Father in heaven, we come before you this evening as a group of citizenry, elected officials, and dedicated staff. Grateful for the opportunity we have, Father, to make decisions in a land of freedom, that we can choose for ourselves in the direction to run our community and to budget for those things that are necessary. Grateful for citizens that come and help with input, to help guide and give us direction. We invite the Spirit here this evening that we may have civil discussions, that we may talk positive, that we might be able to improve our wonderful community. We're grateful for the freedoms that we do enjoy, and that is how we ask to protect those who are out there protecting our freedoms in the services throughout the world. These prayers and blessings we ask now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, would you follow me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to B, consent agenda. Number 1, approval of the May 17th, 2023 City Council minutes. Number 2, resolution adoption of the Payson City Council Rules of Order and Procedures. Number 3, ordinance amendments to the Payson City Code, Title 2.08.130, Rules of Procedure. And number 4, ordinance amendments to the Payson City Code, Title 2.28, taking office. Unless there's any discussion about those items, council, I'm ready for a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion has been seconded, requiring a roll call vote, starting with Council Hyatt.
Yeah.
Council Prosgard.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to C, petitions. Presentation of a new police officer and oath of office. Chief Bishop and Judge isn't here yet. Should we do, you will delay that. Council, can I deviate?
Yes.
I make a motion that we suspend the agenda so the mayor can move at his second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes, thank you. We'll go ahead to number 2, presentation by Tabitha's Way. Is Lillian here? Lillian's not here yet. Okay, we'll move on to number 3, public forum. Anyone can speak on items not on the agenda. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And please identify who you are as you come up.
Councilman, Councilwoman, Mayor. My name is Jake Barker. I stand before you here today just to bring some items to your attention. I have spoken with a few previously already about this, but I just wanted it on the record that I was here and I brought this all to your attention. There are some fundamental flaws when it comes to the ordinances and policies and procedures when it comes to the city landfill, the Payson City landfill, I feel. The biggest thing is, I believe the employees their hands are kind of tied. The world is not always black and white, yes and no, right and wrong. I do not have any fault with any of the employees out there, but the problem is they are required to follow these policies that are put in place to a T. And there are times when there needs to be some leeway or some discrepancy for them to make some decisions on who is dumping, when they're dumping, how they're dumping. The reason I bring this to your attention is because I had a situation happen to me. I'm not going to go into detail about that right now, but there's a problem with dumping and the whole driver's license, who is required to be there when the said garbage or trash is taken out to the dump. If it's for a Payson City resident, I understand that if it's a commercial application and it's being done commercially, that should be charged as such. But if it's being done even as a good deed, even as a ward activity, and someone has to take this trash to the dump for an elderly couple in the ward or something, it shouldn't be charged a commercial rate or a non-resident rate, depending on who takes it. You know, that person that the trash was brought to the dump for was a resident or is a resident of Payson City. And that's my big concern, is that. And again, it's not with any of the employees or what they have done or didn't do. It's solely that I feel that their hands are kind of tied when it comes to the matter. They have been told that this is the way it needs to happen and this is what they're supposed to do. And I think they need a little bit of forgiveness there, a little bit of leeway. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Council, just so you're aware, I've met today, Dave and I, probably about half an hour, something like that today, and went over those issues and reassured him that I would take a look at and investigate it. So thank you. Anybody online? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public forum and we'll move on to staff reports. What's up? Oh,
The mayor,
okay, then we will.
we wait like 2 more minutes. Brian's wife's like.
Wonderful.
I just think the judge walked in. Don't want to keep the judge waiting.
All right.
He got some hanging to do.
Okay, we'll move on then to staff reports. Anybody on staff would like to? Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks. First, I'd like to just thank the guys at the cemetery, girls and stuff. I thought they did a really good job getting the cemetery ready for Memorial Day. It's tough. The grass is always longer than what we want, but we mow all week. We weed whip all week. We do everything, but then just that period from Thursday when people start bringing in stuff to Monday, it grows that much. But I just wanted to thank them, and then thank Brian for Adventure Days. Now, the reason why I'm up here tonight is because we had a night golf tournament scheduled for Saturday night and it got rained out as part of Adventure Days. So we rescheduled that for this Saturday night. So just to let everyone know that that's when that's rescheduled. So hopefully we get some good weather for that, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Tracy, just so you know, I've gotten a lot of compliments, very positive compliments. And I'm aware that the grass grows real fast and you're looking at ways to maybe retard or slow that down a little bit.
Yeah, growth regulators. Yeah,
To slow it down a little bit.
Okay, I'll pass it on. Thank you.
And the cleaning up after, it looked good.
Good. We had no incidents. It was a much better year. Thank you. I'll pass it on.
Mayor and Council, I wanted to thank everybody that participated in Adventure Days. I thought for the first annual Adventure Days, it worked out great. I think we had a pretty good turnout. I think the Dowdle puzzle has worked out as good as could have worked out. The people that were honored, some of the ancestors of some of the pioneer heritage of Payson were able to be there. So overall, it was great. We appreciate all the support and input. I'd like to introduce Blaine, if you want to come up. This is Blaine Hackey. He's our new power director for the city. You may have heard his name, but we wanted to formally introduce to you. And he comes from Murray City, where he worked for the power department. He's worked for Bountiful Power and Murray Power. And we're glad to have him here. He's fit in great. I think he's jumped in with both feet, and we're happy to have him here. But I just thought we'd bring him and let him shake your hand and just welcome him as an employee and director of the power department.
Dave,
You want to say anything?
I'd like to, just before Blaine gets
Sure.
the chance to do it, I participated in getting Blaine here, and he is eminently qualified to lead our power department into the future. So thank you.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I do have a blood of municipal power. Bountiful City has its own power system as well as Murray City. And so I've got a couple decades worth of, I know how municipal power systems work. It's been refreshing to come to Payson, which is smaller than the other two I'm familiar with, but it's, like I said, it's refreshing. As I get to know the linemen and the substation and the meter people that I've worked with, this is my third week. I'm fairly new at it. I'm finding out that they have a lot of hats on their head and they have a lot of responsibilities that they're willing to do. Whereas the other two places I work, they're more specialized and they weren't as cooperative perhaps as I'm seeing here in Payson so far. So I appreciate the opportunity to be in Payson. I'm really excited. I knew Brian, I knew Ronnie Crump, so I know the UAMPS group, and we will invite you to be involved as much as you want to with municipal power, the UAMPS organization. And so we're looking forward to this summer. It's going to be a hot summer. We're already trying to buy power to make it go, and it's going to tighten up a little bit. So anyway, thanks you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's been fun so far. I'm still in the honeymoon phase. I tell my linemen, don't do me anything bad for the first month, and after that, you can come.
Why don't you go up and just shake everybody's hand?
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Welcome to Payson. And out here, you love me. Yeah. I'm your man. Thanks.
I don't know that.
You know,
Any other staff that's would like to speak with us? Okay, should we just go ahead with the council reports, or should we go and not make the?
Looks like they're here.
Okay. Judge, we won't make you wait any longer. Chief, we won't make you wait any longer.
Thanks, Mayor. Judge and Brian, if you come up, Brian comes from us from the dental world. He was a dental ortho assistant, sorry. Ortho assistant for the last many years, and him and his wife live in Lehigh, and she just walked in. So we're grateful to have them on our department and part of our family. So thank you, Judge.
all right, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, and state your name. I'm Brian. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Utah, and the laws and ordinances of Payson City. And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations.
He's got to come back up after he signs.
We need you to talk to us.
We'll make it official.
Yes. Come on up to the speak, and if you would like to hear from you a little bit. If you want, go ahead and brag.
Well, I'm Brian Pinto. It's an honor to work with you guys' city, and I am excited to start my career here in Payson City. Thank you.
Ryan, we want to meet your family.
Well, that's my wife, Monica, and my Monica.
Come on up real quick.
Yeah.
Come on up. Yes, we do.
And then I have my 4 kids, Olivia, Ava, Isaac, and Ella. Come on up.
Come on up.
And that's my mother-in-law, Melanie. Yeah.
Let's get them up here.
Okay.
We'd like to see that little notch out we got. That's the photo shop.
I need adults fine. That's Brian's, by the way.
All right, 1, 2, 3 over here. Welcome to Payson, guys. You betcha.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and get back on the agenda, the council reports, starting with Council Beecher. You got anything to say to us?
I was just gonna say that I enjoyed Adventure Days. It was fun. It was very enjoyable. I'm not sure we can outdo the first time, though, so we're gonna have to work on it.
Work on.
To outdo the first time, but it was enjoyable and I enjoyed it, so glad to have been there. Oh, and then, Robert,
Well, I was just gonna,
the water stuff.
I was going to get up and say, we had a little mix up with, noticing requirements, so it's gonna come next time, but it'll be the next one.
Okay,
I'm sorry that I missed Adventure Day, the first one. I was going to say bumming, but traveling sounds a lot better.
For you, Linda, bombing sounds.
that's fine.
I'm sorry. Anyway, and I've had several people talk to me and they've told me how good they thought it was. So I'm real happy that the city did that. And I've had something that's really been bothering me and I'd like to just bring it up. We've talked about it time and time again. But it was brought to my attention again tonight that I don't know what we need to do, whether we need to make a new ordinance or what we need to do about people cleaning up their yards. It's hard to get tons of calls every week complaining and that the value of their property is going down because of what's going on around them. And maybe we're having a beautification meeting next week. And so maybe with that, maybe we could, I don't know, but it's a concern for me. Because I get tons of calls. And I don't have anything that I can tell them. Because nothing's been told to me. Our hands are tied. So that's all I've got.
It's a really thorny issue. It really is. Appreciate you bringing that up, Linda. Let me say, then we'll just come down and you can do that. One thing that I would like to acknowledge too is with Adventure Days, thanks for everybody that participated in that. It was
Good
really a
program.
good event. A lot of people, 200 to 300 or more that came. And the one thing I'd like to say about Dowdle, I think it's a wonderful thing that we've been able to do. The only downside is that there's only so much room we could put on that puzzle. I know there's some people we missed, but would apologize for that. But with the caveat that says we just couldn't
Do
get.
you have any more?
We just couldn't have any, we didn't have enough room to.
Oh,
for
Oh.
the puzzle.
All the extra things that.
oh, so there's still one I can buy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We got-
You can buy.
I'm just saying, we wish we could put everybody that we wanted to on that puzzle, but there's only so much room. So just wanted to mention that. Bob?
I echo what Tracy said about the cemetery. I thought that was just, each year it gets a little bit better. I think you've done awesome down there. Thank you. I echo Linda. I get the same phone calls. I seen Scott while Linda was talking, kind of nodding head like that. It's something that we've got to come up with. We talk about it, we mince it over, but we got to do something. And I know we've asked to do that in ordinance, look at some ordinances with everything else that he's shackled with, but I don't know whether we get a committee together or whatever, but it's come to a head. And I know the chief gets tired of us sending him out the properties, and by the time he gets through, he's personal friends with the people, but we don't get anywhere. So I echo you, Linda, loud and clear, and hope we can find something that has a little bit more traction to it. Besides Scott and the track hall.
That might be the answer.
Other than that,
Just hire him.
I was 3 hours ahead of you during Adventure Days, and my phone started blowing up with, how do we get out of puzzles? So I texted the mayor and I said, Mayor, don't sell them all. I've got.
We've got 6,000 of them. We got plenty. There's a couple pallets back here.
450.
Right.
It was
What's
good
that?
for the first day.
Here.
People want to buy them for Christmas gifts. For the-
Here,
Sell them here at the city center.
Yeah, utilities, you can just buy them right at the utility.
There may be other places we can further. in. There is
They-
some.
So. This thing with the beautification, I mean, this is tax store because they have a couple homes in Missouri. But they literally have somebody that goes out and just drives through and they send you you have 30 days to get this clean, or you have to go to court. And even back there, they will actually take your property from you if you don't take care of it after you've gone to court. And they do fine you, I mean, it's anywhere from $100 to $200, depending on what the problem is. And we're not just talking. You know, if your grass is on camp, or if you've got growing up, you're not taking care of your grass. If you have trees that are leaning over somebody's property, you can have a box spring that you just took out of your house, sitting on your porch. You're gonna take it to the dump, but you haven't taken it to the dump and they just happen to be there that day. You will get a letter. And I know there's a couple people that do it. They have the person that goes out. And mind you, Kansas City, Missouri is a lot bigger than Payson. And they literally make these rounds every day, and you get a letter, and you either take care of that. And you have to call them and say, okay, it's taken care of, you take a picture, you send it to them. And then the guy will just kind of drive by and make sure, or you go and you meet with them, whoever it is, they, you know, there's a lot of people there. And you tell them your reasons, but you still have to pay the fine. You start getting $200 fine every month, you're probably gonna do something with your property. And that's just for something on your front porch. I'm not talking about just letting the weeds grow and all that kind of stuff. So it's other cities are doing it. It's, I'm with you. I drive around and I'm thinking, oh, that house is so beautiful. And I look next door and it's like, well, who lives there? That's, I want to go knock on your door and say, do you need me to pay for you to have somebody come and mow your lawn or your weeds? So it's not even lawn anymore. And I know one of the reasons too is they don't want to pay the water, but they're still paying the water and they don't get that. I think they think that they're gonna be paying more water than what they're using. But God, keep your front yard a little bit green. You have that much water, you're paying for it. I don't know.
I think a lot of them it's a choice too.
Yeah.
It is a choice. We don't want to do it.
It is, but I would throw one caution out. I don't know how stringent we need or want to be. You know, people do have property rights and it's a constitutional thing that we need to grapple with. I'm all for making the city look beautiful, but sometimes that's subjective. Sometimes it's subjective and
A lesser class of people.
and I understand the goals.
And that's why they're trying to keep it so that it doesn't do that. The blight, they don't want blight on their.
Believe me, I totally understand what that brings. But there's got to be a happy medium somewhere. I just don't want to be so restrictive that it's not a fun place to live. And but I am not against having some standards that have to be met. So thank you. I appreciate it. Any other comments? Okay, we'll turn some time over to our city attorney, Jason, for legislative updates. Yes. What's that?
Tabitha's Way.
I don't think so.
Okay, I asked if Lillian was here. Is Lillian here now?
No.
Apparently not. Okay, thank you for reminding me. Jason.
Let me address one thing first to go back to what you guys were talking about. In Payson, we do have an ordinance that addresses, actually two ordinances, I think, that address the issue. The first one is the nuisance ordinance. You talk about Kansas City, Missouri, New York City, anywhere really. Most of those cities are quite large. I think Kansas City probably has 500 to 750,000 people. When you have that kind of population, you do have the usually money to hire somebody to do it full time. Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to have somebody drive around and do it. I think West Valley City and Salt Lake City do because they just have more money to deal with it. In the future, we can, I mean, certainly in a budget, you know, as we go forward, and we could start looking for someone to be that full-time person. They would be responsible to go out and start checking all these properties. The cities around us don't even have a full-time person that does it. Many cities, like Spanish Fork, for instance, assigns officers to certain areas, and they are required to, in those areas, check for major violations of nuisance or anything else. We also have the beautification ordinance, as you mentioned, that you guys will meet next week. That you do pick out the most beautiful property of the month, but you also talk about things that aren't so beautiful. And properties that aren't so beautiful and the ones that we should focus on. And so that's where we can attack it going forward. It's just going to take a little bit of extra manpower to do it. But
Question.
sure.
I know we don't have the money to fund a person to do this, but we talked at one time of putting a beautification committee together that could go out once a month.
We do have it.
Okay, there's that portion of it. We just need to figure out the bite, the ticket, the enforcement.
There's been, and I'm not going to name names. There has been, we had a discussion last fall about a certain person. Unfortunately, the winter got quite a bit of snow, and when Robert and I visited the property, there was quite a bit of snow, but there was visible issues with the property. She has been issued citations in the past. She can be issued another citation, another citation, another citation. We can go that route. It's just a matter of the process through the court. Generally, I think the police department holds them for 30 days, much like I think Kansas City does it, kind of holds them, tells them they have to do it, and then they have to go to the court process. Court process isn't exactly fast, and with this certain individual, it happens to be constantly a battle with her. Not to say that she doesn't have the right to do that. She does, certainly does. It just takes time.
But she's not the only one.
She's not. There probably are hundreds, if not, of properties that could
We've
be.
got some notable ones in addition.
And if you guys will start identifying those, Brad and I can start working and getting them cited and go that route.
Yeah, it's not an easy problem to tackle.
Over 500 last time.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm not wanting to beat this to death because we've talked about it a million times, but if that committee come up with criteria, like does it have incapacitated vehicles? Does it have garbage, to a certain level? Once it reaches that level, I don't know, Dave, but I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel here.
It's already in our ordinance.
Yeah.
When we meet next week, we'll have the beautification committee go out every week. And we got a commitment. Linda's the only one on the council on the committee, but if any of you want to be on it.
I don't want to burn out a beautification committee,
We'll
but
cite people every week. And let it.
I don't think it needs to be every week because by the time you cite these and get them through the courts.
If there's 500, but it seems to be a big concern, so we'll do it weekly. And we'll start citing.
It seems to be a growing citizen concern.
Yeah.
Is that fair to assess? And maybe I'm getting the same phone calls as Linda.
We'll take care of it.
Uh,
But I need Linda and it's on the committee and Chief and Scott Spencer. They're gonna be the committee and we'll drive around and you guys, if that's the one that's gonna be cited, we'll cite them.
I think there needs to be 2 citizens at large.
We've got Rob
Yeah, we
Horn.
got Rob Horn.
Oh, okay.
We got Rob Horn that's a committee member. I'm not sure about, we might need to get one more citizen.
But we've got Rob.
We tried to find some last year,
Yeah.
but
Bruce Perry.
No,
Huh?
Where did he move?
Bruce?
Uh-huh.
oh, apparently I'm not on.
We can take you.
Off.
but we'll meet next week and come up with a plan.
We'll get going next week.
Thank you.
I got bumped off for some reason,
Thanks.
so I have to. You're welcome. And now I get to bore you for a few minutes. I did cut it down though, so you won't fall asleep on me, Bob.
How many slides do you have? And that way I'll.
I have 15 real ones and about 3 or 4 fake ones. Well, not fake, but
4 citizens that are left. Dedicated.
yeah, I don't know what's going on here. So maybe I don't have any.
We have staff here and 1 citizen. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Yeah, I can do mine, but I can't get on for some dumb
We
reason.
have a couple of citizens online, looks like too.
Good.
Oh, and
Like on
Humphrey.
staff.
The library.
On staff, oh, okay.
Yes. Hi, Ann.
Thanks for 1 citizen.
I'll start throwing it at you.
Let me connect again.
Are you not able to present again, Jason?
I got kicked off. And apparently I don't have internet anymore. I'm on airplane mode.
Mayor,
Oh, yeah.
if it's okay, let's do the last item and we'll try to get him connected.
Yes, let's do that. Won't give you much time.
You're still staying because something has to do with you.
Okay, council, we'll go ahead and we'll skip to action item D. And have Travis come up and talk to us, resolution amendments to the villages at Arrowhead Park pioneering agreement. Travis.
Mayor, council, so obviously this is dealing with the villages at Arrowhead. So we had an original agreement that they were on just culinary for inside and outside use until they hit 400 units, which they've obviously passed. So Terry was forced to put in the PI line that he didn't really want to, but he did. So that's in. And so this is just modifying that original agreement so that he can get reimbursed when like the Arrowhead Ranch project across the street comes in.
Or the church property happens or all that.
Yeah, and so this is just like, there's a set price on what he paid for it, so it's a per lineal foot cost that they reimburse, so. You know, he'll get reimbursed for his culinary and PI line that he put in from the church, basically all the way out to the development, so.
Let me play dumb contractor for a minute.
Okay.
Did we put large enough lines in that we can accommodate those that are gonna come?
For those 2 developments, yes, when the church property develops, they're gonna have to loop lines and tie a bunch of in, because they're already pre-approved for like 3,700
But for
units.
the other 2 that
Yes.
are in the planning stages.
Yes, we went through Hanson on Loose, modeled that, got it all done, so yes, we are good.
So it's a
Get
dead.
a gold star. for that
So,
one.
yes,
It's a
we are.
dead end line
Yeah,
right
the
now.
question I
Yeah.
have, is that pioneering agreement, is that a 10-year agreement or?
Yes,
That is a-
that's what our ordinance allows right now, so.
Yeah.
It says 10 years.
7.
10 years.
So definitely
They
don't want to
developed,
go on
they waited.
10 years and
year
then
8.
next week.
Of course they did.
Yeah, well, there's got to be a limit somewhere.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying, hold out so they don't have to pay that.
I mean, Arrowhead Ranch is already moving forward. They've already got 2 phases that are pretty much almost ready to go, so they'll
And
be.
that's something we
in
can't
there.
control.
No. And
Okay,
it's not our
Uh,
problem.
with that
So do we need to make-
presentation,
We need to make a motion.
yes,
Yes, we do.
that's where I'm going. With that presentation, I'm ready for a motion. Let's further discussion.
If I knew what to say the amendment was.
I move that we.
Give it some wordage.
I move that we approve the amendments and amendments to the Villages at Arrowhead Park pioneering agreement as outlined in the packet.
Pioneering, agreement, yes.
Second. There's a second. Okay. Have a motion has been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Prostad, yes. Council Hart.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Motion carries. Now we're ready for you again.
Just so you know, technically speaking, that was not a pioneering agreement. That was development agreement that has a section that deals with pioneering portion of it. But that's okay.
Is that okay with your motion?
Okay, you're okay.
Kurt?
I'm good.
Yeah, it's
However
fine.
words it best.
Okay.
Technically,
We're
that's
good.
what it was, but the intent was clear. I know.
Leave it to a lawyer to tell us that.
Hey, hush. Okay, just so you know, this legislative session was by far the most bills passed in the state of Utah ever. And my suspicion is every year going forward, it's just going to trump itself from the year prior. So buckle up and have fun the next several years.
Won't be too many more years and the legislature can come down and be the city council.
Well, there's one instance I'll tell you about.
Look at what they've taken away this year.
We'll start with House bills. I skipped a good portion of these. These are just kind of the relevant ones that you guys should be aware of. The railroad right away, traditionally, if you've worked with a couple of the railroads recently, or in the last several years, the railroads don't like to work and don't like to pay for anything. They tell us we have to pay for it. This now provides, this bill provides us a way to assess them part of the cost if it has to do with their property. Mainly crossings or arms or things like that, that we as cities are required to put in. I think enough cities voiced their concern over this and legislature came through on that one.
Does it
Go ahead.
require the railroad to actually act on something in a speedy
No,
fashion?
no.
That's too bad.
No, it just has them, we just get to assess them a fee for their proportion
Because they're
cost to,
phenomenally slow.
they are. Yeah, that's why the crossing over by where I live is just barely getting worked on. And it was designed 6-7 years ago. Voter accessibility, this is simply just something to be aware of for anybody that's handicapped in any or any way wheelchair accessible, allowing for voting facilities to better accommodate for everyone. So it's not a huge thing. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with us, but municipal construction bids, this simply just simplifies the process. We only have to put out the bids in 2 places now, the procurement website and the Utah Public Notice website. Housing affordability, the main take on this is used to be October. Well, I think originally the report was due somewhere in like December. That got moved up to October last year, October 1st. This year, they've made it August 1st. So Robert is working diligently to get that done by August 1st. That will be the case going forward unless the legislature decides at some point to move that back again. But
They will.
they
will.
I'm sure they will sometime. So, I mean, it may go to July, it might be January at some point. It just seems, it just keeps going. Luckily, this year is a progress report, and I think each year going forward is essentially a progress report, unless the council determines that there needs to be a change in one of the.
So going forward, the one good thing that they did change, like Jason is mentioning, it's an administrative report. So I don't have to bring that to you for approval or anything. We just have to report on our progress and submit that. The only time that the council would be involved is if we make changes to our plan. And those would come to you, which I think we should look at, but given the incredibly short timeline, we're just gonna go with the bare minimum and get that in.
And that's a 12-month year-to-date progress report.
Well,
It's from October 1st of last year to, well, actually ours didn't get approved until.
generally, yeah.
It'll be an annual.
It would be August 1st, generally, yeah, or somewhere around in there.
The only other thing that I would mention about that is, it's really imperative that we get that submitted on time, because the other thing that this bill did add was fees for non-compliant.
And it's fees per day.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it's high. What was it? $250? It was quite a
It
bit.
can be up to like $500 a day, so like
Uh,
total like $300,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, if you purposely, and that apparently the way it was told to us by the league was there were a couple of cities that decided they weren't going to submit at all. And so thank the bad actors in that sense. Because they're the ones that got this mandate put in place and the penalty that went with it. Fireworks, traditionally, we have the 4th, the 24th in Utah, and then we have New Year's Eve. Well, this one extends it for those who like to do fireworks in the cold on January 1st, July until 11 p.m. I don't know anybody that would want to do them on the day of, but okay. Especially in the cold, and if it snows anything, if it's like anything like last year, January 1st might not be fun. This was one of the two big bills that came out of the session. 406 is the LUDMA bill. The main takeaway out of this one is that residential roadway pavement can only be 32 feet wide. That is single family homes and townhomes is what that classifies as. So as you all may know, 32 feet is not extremely wide, especially when cars are parked on the side of the road. But that's what we have to live with now. And we are in the process of adjusting our specs to get it to that. Yes. We could red curb some areas. Generally, in most neighborhoods, you probably wouldn't want to. In higher density places like townhomes, maybe. Sometimes the builders may do things that would discourage parking, meaning the spaces in between driveways and stuff is rather narrow, so you couldn't really put a car there. Not in theory, maybe a smart car. But that's the main takeaway out of this one. It does change quite a bit of things. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of changes, but that's the main one. Senate bills. This is the fun one because Senate did a lot of bills this year. Let's start with flag. Does anybody know what this stuff means?
Mountains, sky.
Well, let me just tell you. I had to look it up. Yes, well, okay, so this has passed. My understanding is, as of the other day, there is a group of people in the state of Utah that are trying to get a referendum together to get, at least have it changed. I don't know. I didn't look too much into it, but this could change. But let me just go through real quick. Peaks is the indigenous peoples. The hexagon is strength of Utah's people. The star underneath the beehive is hope in 1896. Blue, the upper portion, is blue sky and faith. White is snowy mountains and peace. Beehive is, of course, the industry and community and 1847. And red, which Southern Utah probably doesn't like this too much, but red is the red rocks of Southern Utah, perseverance and unique landscape of Utah. I don't see any in the blue's the top part.
Sky. That's because the fires in Canada.
Yeah, if you saw pictures of New York City, they're very scary.
I've been over there. It's worse than we get.
Senate Bill 43, all notices are now classified as A and B. Sounds like misdemeanor levels things, but Kim and I have been working on these. There's quite a bit of changes as so I didn't put all the code that this amends because it would be like a whole page on here. It's a lot, but basically the idea is certain things in the code, certain notices are 4 days, 6 days, 10 days. All those are listed in there, but they classify them, it's an A or it's a B. Kind of weird, but I guess.
Just really quick, going back to the flag. Now, it's my understanding, both of them, both the old one and that one still can be used.
Yes, in fact, they, if you notice, the governor, after this was passed, he actually ordered the old flag to be flown at the same time. I don't know what we do here. I don't even know if we have one.
Choose which one we fly, right?
No, well, I don't know.
I thought we could choose which one we fly. It gave us that ability.
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, theoretically that passed, so you could.
The new one is what's flying underneath the Capitol, the state Capitol American flag is the new flag.
Yes, but the old one is there too, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not flying underneath the American flag anymore.
It's on a separate pole. Okay.
I thought they said it became a historical
Yeah, I think that's I think the classification he was using for it.
emeritus status or
Yeah.
something.
Sand and gravel pits, sales tax. This is kind of a boon for us, but there's going to be a fight coming up soon. Reason for this is retailers or batch plants that were in other cities were still getting part of the sales tax portion. This now limits the sales tax to only those cities that have a gravel pit in it. That includes us, of course. If your city does not, then they lose that revenue as of this year. That's caused some contention at the league. The league doesn't necessarily have an argument one way or another. But what I understood from the league people was this is going to be challenged either in a special session or next year
By the cities that don't pay the tax.
by the cities that lost the tax.
Have a big scar on their mouth.
Senate Bill 119, capita water consumption. This one's kind of interesting. They are going to do studies now on population use of water. So as a whole. It's kind of a unique idea, but it's not a bad.
Doesn't exist is because we get compared to other, specifically Western states, and our per capita consumption is based on a different formula than everybody else. So for example, we may show 250 gallons per person per day or whatever. Whereas other cities show 180, for example, because of their formula, and the formula aren't the same.
So we're amending it to
So we're
change that
amending
to
it
that same
make it
formula.
So that we match others.
It's consistent. Thank you for that.
That's what it boils down to. It's so we don't get called out as bad water users, is what it really.
Well, and if we're being judged at 350 per household and say in Arizona, it's only 120 or 130 or 150, it makes it look like we're using a lot more water when it was really based upon apparently a bad formula or a different formula.
A different.
Senate Bill 127, cybersecurity. This one was a big shocker. I actually didn't even find out about this until about a month ago. The state, because of certain issues that popped up with cybersecurity on different state or large city websites and or computer systems, they now require by January of 25, they do require that we change our .org to .gov. We have, or I should say Dale, Melanie, and Kim have already applied for, was it Payson? PaysonUtah.gov for our website, and then .gov for all the emails. So be ready, because all of them are going to change.
It's kind of a hassle.
It
They've
is.
done it in my. It's kind of a hassle.
So we will be, once that gets approved, then Dale will start changing over everything.
Just a thought to pass on to them is that keep the old email addresses for a year so that you have a chance to roll it over.
That's a good idea. Yeah, and officially, they've given the city's time. I mean, basically it's January 1st of 25, so it's just over about a year and a half. But year and a half for large places, and I think, I don't know, we have probably, I think 100, 200 plus, somewhere around 200 emails, email addresses. That takes time for Dale to do. Plus cost. Dale's comment to me when I sent that to him was, well, it's just like the legislature to send us something and not help us pay for it. Senate Bill 138, fraudulent tickets. This really doesn't have much to do with that. If any of your grandchildren or friends or family were trying to get tickets to, I believe it was Taylor Swift, there was a big brouhaha over false tickets or bots buying out the tickets in a lot of places. This creates somewhat of a committee to kind of watch over that and try to protect consumers in the state of Utah, at least. Doesn't address anybody else, but it hopefully will solve that problem or at least help it. This is the other big one. This is what I think you were alluding to, Bob. So basically what this does is now takes the subdivision process, makes it a two-step process, and makes it an administrative to be handled by staff. We are in the process of changing that. We should have it done in a few months, but it essentially will make preliminary plans and final plats will be done through just staff at that point.
So the only recourse, having talked to several other council people from 3 or 4 different other communities, is the only recourse for that is to review the ordinances that we're concerned with, so that as staff applies those ordinances, it meets the wish of the council. Is that correct? Meaning if we modify our ordinances, since we don't get to see them anymore and approve them.
Well, you would in some circumstances, for instance, the legislative matters, the PRDs and those kind of things, you will, because there'll be a joint kind of thing. You'll still see those, but you won't
there's
see
several
the
things
run
that
of
we're
mouth.
seeing now that we will not see anymore.
Correct. To an extent, yes. Keep in mind though, especially on a preliminary, even final for that matter, there's certain things that we should be as staff looking for. And of course, when we come through to get this approved through you, we will send it out to you ahead of time so that you guys can look at it. And if you guys want to add things, there are shot clocks now. The shot clocks, we get 4 chances. And that to me is scary. At least we're open generally 4 days a week. So it gives us almost the time we've been spending generally right now on them. But it's going to be a little harder to do. And there's a lot in our code to change to get in compliance with this. So that's why I say it'll be a few months probably to get to it, but
It will be, but what people elected us for, as far as housing and as far as that's been taken away from us. The only way we can get some of that back is to address it in ordinance. So as staff reviews, they apply the new ordinance.
yeah, to an extent, yes, yes.
Correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are some things that we can require. Some things that we probably wouldn't, but yeah, come on up.
Yeah, I've tried to search this one out because this body no longer gets to have a say in what we have come to our community.
So I think that's a really interesting observation, and this is my comment on that. You do have the ultimate say because you control the zoning of our city. And that's what's going to be coming to you. So every time that there's a zone change request or things like that, those are the decisions that you all are tasked to weigh and to make those decisions. And if you're okay with what the zone allows, then just by default, we should be okay with the project that's coming, right? And if I was a council person
and a zone change was coming to me, I would want to know what the purpose of that zoning is, like what project is this related to, so I could see that. And then if there are specific concessions that are being asked for in that zone or whatever, that's your opportunity to say, you know, these are the concerns that I have with this zone change. And it might not be timely, and then your applicant can address that and say, well, what could we do to make it more conducive and have that opportunity for negotiation at that point.
So let's play hindsight's 2020.
Mhm.
We go back to Mr. Harwood's project out on Arrowhead. If we have in the zoning ordinance that he can only have so many units. It's in ordinance, staff applies that to an approval, correct?
That's correct.
Rather than him come and say, but you guys gave me bonus because I was willing to do this or that, and all of a sudden we got.
Yeah, yeah, basically, yes.
In other words, I'm trying to protect the citizens and myself. I plan on being here until they put me in my box.
Right.
I'm trying to protect ourselves from a legislature and a senate, meaning I asked Mike McKell, what the heck were you guys thinking?
Oh, I got one of those coming up.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah. So
in other words, I'm with you on, as long as a council is good with the zone, but that's where we need to be more judicious would be not judicious. What am I trying to say? We need to do our homework on the zones that we're going to allow things in.
and that's really where you have the ultimate power of influence, is we need to look at each of those zones that we allow and make sure that you are okay
With everything. that's
with
in
those
With what's-
permitted uses in that zone
Yep.
at that location.
Totally agree. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, he explained, the planner can explain it much better than I can. No, we are working together to get that changed. There's quite a bit. His staff has actually done quite a bit of work already on this. We're just gonna meet and put it together and get it to you guys.
I'm
within
sure
a
it's
few
going to be
minutes.
a work control as we possibly can.
Right, and what Robert's saying is with the zoning, for instance, let's say somebody wants to zone it. The RMF, right? In that sense, if you don't think that on the general plan, it doesn't call for an RMF zone. It's single family, let's say 15, R115. But the zone change request is not for R115. According to the general plan, it's for the RMF. And if it is, you guys can look at it and say, no, that doesn't belong there. According to the general plan, it doesn't meet the general plan. Within the next couple of years, my guess is the general plan is going to be, by the legislature, is going to be a document we will have to it be enforced. Right now, it's a guidance document, right? I mean, we don't necessarily have to go with it, but in the future it may. And if that's the case, then we will be stuck with whatever's in our general plan. We will have to be stuck with that. We will have to go through and redo some of our zoning to meet that, but we will do that if that comes up.
So it can be a work in progress, meaning just because we set in ordinance a zone and there are some pinholes, or what's the right word? Some flaws.
Areas.
Yeah, some gray areas or some, something falls through the cracks that we can modify. We still have that right to modify zone.
And zoning, and just so you know, we talked about this as staff. Zoning will probably, when you get to zoning, you're gonna want to know. I mean, you will know already what's allowed, what's permitted in the zone, but you'll also want to know, if I'm asking for it, what am I going to present? What kind of product am I going to put in there? And that's where you guys got a lot of control. We're going to encourage developers to do that so that you guys aren't in the dark about, well, we change it to this zone in the next 10 years. they aren't gonna do anything, and then they're gonna ask for another zone change.
But I think that's what they're trying to control is what you can put as far as buildings go, right?
So
We can't tell them what they can build anymore as far as
No, but you can control it by
just
zoning.
through zoning.
through zoning.
So
They want to-
I remember the other
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to say. This bill, I think one of the real goals of it is to try to have you focus on your legislative powers and your legislative responsibilities and your legislative decisions. And because a lot of the things that we're talking about are your administrative powers, right? Those are the things that if a project meets those requirements, you cannot say no. Right? And so if you can't say no in your administrative responsibilities, what is the point of it coming, right? But this, and I do not think that the legislature's intent is to take away your legislative power.
I think they're wanting to focus on it.
I agree with that. I think they want you to focus on the legislative decisions for each of our cities, not the administrative decisions.
And legislative, just kind of a little 101 on that. That's annexations, that's zone changes, general plan amendments, those kind of things. So you do have a lot of power in the legislative, and legislative, if it's arbitrary or capricious, is the only standard for not accepting a zone change or any other legislative matter for that. So the standard is quite, the burden is quite, I wouldn't say high, it's not like a criminal standard, but it is a standard that's a little harder to get to than just, I mean, they have to prove that you guys were being arbitrary or capricious. And which is not easy to do. That's why in legislative matters, we encourage you guys to state your reasons, whatever those may be, you state your reasons. The reason for that is so that if something comes up in litigation later, we can depend on, look, they did give their reasoning behind it. Let me finish up real quick and then we're done.
Thanks, Jason.
This one is what I was talking about a second ago. This bill disallows referral of a referendum to voters for municipal land use laws that pass by unanimous vote by the legislative body. I warn on this, and the league actually mentioned this some time ago. The Constitution of Utah actually says that the people have the right to refer land use. It's specifically in the Utah Constitution. This legislature does have a carve out in that, and that's why Mike decided to run this bill. This bill was run at the very, very end. Within the last couple of hours of it, and it somehow passed. I don't know how, but it did. I would still encourage us to allow you to, if we have something that, even if it's unanimous, if somebody wants to refer it, I don't see any reason they can't, to be honest. I mean, if they don't like the law, if the people don't like it, their opportunity is either referendum or voting out those who voted for it, one or the other. But elections are only every couple of years, so it doesn't give them the opportunity right away, whereas a referendum might. So, and then finally, closed meeting. This one simply adds loan application. I don't think we've ever had this come up, but you can now discuss loan application in a closed session if there is financial documentation or financial issues in that application that cannot be discussed with the public. That's the only reason. I don't know, there must have been some city that had this come up, because I don't know, I've never seen this, but it's there, and if we need it, we can use it. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Hey, after that presentation, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.